You know, somebody quoting you $10,000 to build a couple cabinets and a shelf and like a little tile. That's the F off price.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Although
that's fine.
the line between F off price and just kind of going right these days is getting smaller and smaller.
That's true.
Shit's expensive, man.
Welcome to Off the Cut.
Dude, I haven't touched any wood in a long time.
I don't care how long it is.
Or you're trying to make eye contact with the person.
Maybe you're looking at it from the wrong angle.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
I'm glad we got the explicit out of the way early.
If I'm going to put money into this, it's going to be great. And I guarantee it.
Get it? Welcome to Off the Cut, episode 165 for Tuesday, May 20th, 2025.
Not bad.
And I've got good news and bad news.
Okay, hit me with the bad news first, and then I can have the good news as kind of a pick-me-up at the end.
Bad news is Derek will not be joining us tonight.
Okay, from my perspective, that's not horrible news, because I already knew that.
Bad news, though.
It's bad news for the audience, no doubt, but I already knew that going into this, so okay, I'm in a good headspace right now. So the good news is going to be extra sweet for me right now.
Oh, yeah. The good news is that KM Tools is still sponsoring this podcast.
What?
Yeah.
He hasn't dropped us yet? That's insane.
No. Do you ever have those feelings where you're like, one of these days you're going to wake up, you're going to get an email, and it's just going to be like, yeah, we're not doing this anymore. Like,
that is
like everyone you work with is like, Zach.
That's the fear I live under every single, like all my partnerships, every single one. I'm worried they're all just all of a sudden going to decide like, this guy, he's actually not worth it. Screw it. Cut him loose.
Yeah, we're out of here. But KM Tools sticks around. That's because they're here for woodworkers.
By woodworkers. It kind of works. I see where you're going with that. I'll tell you what, before we started the show, we were having a chat with the live stream crew who tunes in every single week to watch us live. Appreciate them very much. And Joe from Delaware Valley Workshop. I wanted to say wood shop. I had to look over at the live stream to correct myself. He was telling me that he just won a set of Japanese chisels from kmtools.com. And I went on the site to look at them, and they are so damn nice. I don't even use chisels, and I wanted to give myself a set.
You open up paint cans.
Yeah, and I use the bourbon blade as well for scraping 3D prints off my print bed.
So this is something we've never talked about before. Everybody, do yourself a favor. Go to kmtools.com, which you should already be there, and type in Zenwu, ZENWU. These are beautiful chisels.
I mean, sometimes a tool can just look so good that you know it's a good tool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but a lot of the time you can. And I'm judging this book by its cover, and I judge it to be good.
Oh, yeah. It's got like these beautiful like maple looking handles, this like black, coated steel. Like these are sexy, man.
Yeah, Joe, can you chime in? What's up with the steel? Is it like a carbon steel or?
It is a unique steel called ZWC1 that's high on both the hardness and toughness scales.
Oh, yeah, look at that. Okay.
Oh, so you probably heard of like the Veritas PMV 11 chisels. It's supposed to be like the top of whatever. I've never touched them.
Yeah, same.
This steel that they use is actually, they're claiming to be better than those.
Whoa.
Ooh, at a fraction of the price too.
Yeah, those Veritas ones are not cheap, huh?
No. I've got to imagine they got to open up a paint can pretty well, though.
Oh, I think they probably just punch right through the lid, though. You have to be real careful.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting. But yeah, check these out. These are insane.
Yeah, very nice looking chisels.
Huh. Well, if you head over to kmtools.com and check out anything, including those chisels, a portion of all the proceeds for every sale goes directly towards the Katz Moses Woodworkers with Disabilities Fund, which gets tools and resources into the hands of folks who need it most. Did you see Jonathan sent out like a newsletter the other day about like recapping some of the stuff?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I was judged on your face. You didn't.
Yeah, I'm gonna go look. I'm looking through my inbox now. What the heck?
You sent out like an update about like all the people that they were able to help last year and stuff, and
Really?
I know our buddy Jason Hibbs donated a lot of his he upgraded a bunch of machines, donated all of his old machinery, and they basically completely outfitted somebody's shop with all of his old stuff. Like, how sick is
awesome.
that?
Yeah, that's great.
It's sweet. Like, if you go online, you can read more about it, like what the charity does and everything, but it's awesome.
That's very weird. I did not get that email.
No, I don't know.
I'm gonna have to talk to Jonathan about this. I'm not getting my updates the way I should be.
You're going to need a Craig.
Yeah, I will.
But anyway, if arguably the best thing, perhaps even better than the Katz Moses Woodworkers with Disabilities Fund, is that every month Jonathan gives away a $50 gift card to KM Tools.
Heck
And if
yeah.
you get your hands in on that, all you have to do is go to patreon.com/offcutpodcast, sign up for any tier level, automatically entered to win.
Hell yeah.
But what's the other thing that our patrons get access to that we're doing tonight, Zach?
Well, hold on. So you roll. They get access to the Discord. They get access to all of our beautiful bonus shows that are basically a whole other podcast unto themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Each one's somewhere between 30 minutes and an hour long. Sorry, correction. Most of them are between 30 minutes and an hour. A lot of them go into an hour and a half, 2 hour range as well. So there's quite a bit of variation there.
We initially planned, we're like, oh, what do you think an after show is? Like 15, 20 minutes or something? Yeah,
something like that.
It's never that.
No, it's hard once you get the ball rolling. But anyways, I'm getting sidetracked. We are doing our monthly BYOC call, which stands for Bring Your Own Caulk. And I see you cringing there. I said CAULK.
I know. Yeah. Sometimes you just got to get your hand on caulk.
Yeah, exactly. Can't censor us if we're saying caulk, right?
Is it an issue if you get caulk in your mouth?
I don't think so. I mean, I guess it depends what type it is.
Taking up the cock jokes from the archive.
Yeah,
that was in the early days.
Yeah, what was the one where we just giggled for like half an hour about power caulking and stuff like that?
We definitely had. I think it was in the first like 20 or so episodes where we just had something where we literally couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah, but we named some of the Patreon tiers after it for a little while too, I think.
Yeah. That's the problem with like the Patreon tiers. Like after a while, you're like, well, that joke doesn't really hit home anymore.
Yeah, you kind of wear it out, and you're like, okay, I'm kind of over this now.
Yeah. So do you ever have those jokes like with your buddies? And I'm totally guilty of this. Like something comes up and it's real funny, and then you guys all say the joke a lot, and then eventually somebody's just like, this joke's done.
Yeah. You have to retire. You have to take a joke behind the woodshed and just put it out of its misery. Sometimes they run their course.
Yeah, but it's always you feel like a fuddy-duddy if you're the guy that's like, listen,
fellas,
we're done.
We're done.
The cock jokes are over.
No, I think I support the people who do it. You're a little bit of a fuddy-duddy, but you're also like, come on, guys, we're better than this. We can create new material. We can't rest on our laurels forever and just keep telling the same jokes over and over again.
Yeah, be excited for new material. It's like, like we all enjoy Seinfeld, but like if you see some of the Seinfeld stand-up, it's like, man, these are a lot of...
Yeah. It is crazy jokes. How... Okay, hold on. I think we should just rewind a little bit for a second. We're doing our monthly call where people call in and we do like a 30-minute, basically a live after show with a bunch of patrons. I don't think we cover that. So, okay, now we're going back to where we were a second ago.
Admin stuff over.
It is funny how comedy evolves. Like there is stuff that was side-splittingly funny to me when I was younger, and now I see it and I'm like, yeah, it's okay. Like doesn't really crack me up anymore. Like, have you ever gone and watched a comedy special that you used to love?
Okay,
from like 10 plus years ago.
The first thing I can come to mind is like I remember the first comedy thing I watched that I was like this might be the funniest effing thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
Was I'll really take you back. Sleepover at one of my buddy's houses.
Mm-hmm.
We got 2 liters of soda and
course.
some really crappy pizza that his mom got us. We were down in the
gutter pie.
basement.
Hell yeah.
We were playing knee hockey on the carpet. Some good knee hockey.
Yeah.
Where you get the terrible carpet burn on the top of your feet. And
you're supposed to right. Because you I'm trying to remember how I used to do it with my friends. We would duct tape couch cushions to our shin.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah, but your feet still get messed up because your foot's not really protected. You don't bang your knee up too bad, but yeah.
So anyway, this was a long time ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
My buddy goes, "Hey, I got this VHS," and I'm like, he goes, "It's SNL Best of Chris Farley," and I'm like, I don't know what SNL is, but I'm in for it. Dude, I don't think I've ever laughed that hard ever again. And I've since, I came out on DVD, I bought it on DVD, and then it's like, man, these jokes just don't hit the same anymore.
Did you do that thing where you're like, Miranda, I gotta show you this comedy special that I watched in my childhood. It's so funny. And then you're watching it with her and she's not really laughing. You're like, did I misremember things? What's going on? This is not funny at all.
Same.
Yeah.
This isn't the same. They must have changed it.
Everything is 100% less funny when you're showing it to your spouse.
Oh, I know. I know. Do you ever have that thing where you're flipping through Netflix or whatever, and then Sophie might be like, "Oh, Zach, you got to see this. I just watched this one last week." I'm like, I don't want to watch a movie or show with you that you just watched last week because it's not going to be as funny.
Yes, 100%. 100%. I'm trying to think if that's happened recently, and I don't know that it has. I don't know that Sophie would attempt to do that.
Selfish. She's a selfish show watcher.
A little bit. But she's conscientious of. She'll watch things that she knows that I don't care about at all without me.
Sure. Yeah, those dating shows on Netflix.
Exactly. Or she loves
People Are Secrets or whatever.
Yeah, she loves her rom-coms and stuff like that too. And she'll, if I'm out with the guys, she'll watch that.
Did you ever get the feeling that projects or things that you've built, things that 5 years ago you were so jazzed to build that now you look back and you're like, why the heck? Why was I inspired or why was I even interested in that? Or why did I think that was a good idea? Or why did I want that in my house?
Yes. Why did I think that was? Oh, well, I think the projects, I'm usually for the most part, I'm trying to think if there's anyone that's I was really, truly. No, I think for the most part, if I build something, because things take so long. So I usually think about it ahead of time. But and I'm really sure I want something before I set out to build it. That being said, as a content creator, there are tons of things where I'm like, why the hell did I ever think that project would make a good video? Just because it's something that I want and it's a practical thing that I kind of needed doesn't mean that it makes for a good video.
All right. Give me an example, and I definitely have some examples of mine.
I think the biggest effort to not reward was my metal hammock frame that I made.
But I remember that one way back in the day. I thought it was pretty neat. But is it just because welding for a lot of folks at the time they're probably watching your stuff or more into woodworking? They're like, "Yo, I don't weld."
For sure, I think there was a little bit of that. I think it was a little bit of out of left field for my current audience. I also think I had no concept of how to package that. I was like, what do you mean? It's it's a hammock frame. It's inherently cool, but in retrospect, not really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was one of those things where it was so challenging for me to make that it would make for an interesting video. But I think it just never really got people in the door to start watching in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how would you repackage that now? Say tomorrow, I was like, all right, Zach, you have to make a video about making a metal hammock frame.
I don't know. And that's like the big challenge. Like, I think back in the day, I tried to package it as like how to build something when you have no idea what you're doing. Because I had never built a hammock frame before. I only had a rough idea. So I kind of like the narrative was like, here's kind of like all these tricks I use to figure things out when I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, could you package it as like welding for dummies, how to
Maybe.
get started welding?
Maybe, for sure. Yeah.
Like a time constraint project of like, you make this artificial thing like, I have to have this done by Saturday. Today is Tuesday, and I've never built a project like this.
Yeah, I think that would have been that would have definitely heightened things, but I don't know if that's still like, how do you convey that in a title and thumbnail? Like building a hammock frame in 7 days.
72 hours to build the hardest project I've ever attempted.
I mean, that's actually not too bad. That's better than anything I came up with back in the day.
But then would you feel disingenuous? Let's say, again, saying tomorrow you have to make this video.
Yeah.
Would you feel disingenuous making up this artificial time frame just because you're like, I want to build this hammock, but like, this is really the only way I can think of like making it?
Yeah. And let's be real. I don't know that I could actually do it in 72 hours. I think that project took me like 2 weeks or something like that.
Right.
So, yeah.
I mean, like, I'll be honest with you. One of the video I put out most recently, the laundry room cabinets and stuff, I'm like, I need some kind of like a hook. I need a point of interest, intrigue, something that might like, something like that, right? And I was like, I'm going to call a remodeling company. And so I said, I called him. I was like, telling them what I was wanting. I was like, a rough quote. And they're like, yeah, we'll come out and do this. I'm like, no. I'm looking for just like a super, super ballpark rough quote. And the guy was like, $10,000. I said, great.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Click.
And so I started the video with $10,000 was what I was quoted to transport this. Because like, I couldn't in good conscience
have somebody come out like invest hours into a real quote. Yeah.
Right.
Totally,
and I also
100%.
that, and on the flip side, I couldn't in good conscience just say
a random
I was
number.
quoted $10,000 if I wasn't.
Yeah, true.
Like, somebody quoting you $10,000 to build a couple cabinets and a shelf and like a little tile. That's the F off price.
Yeah.
But
although
that's fine.
The line between F off price and just kind of going right these days is getting smaller and smaller.
That's true.
Shit's expensive, man.
I know it is, but hey, what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do?
I can think of a project that I definitely regret doing.
Okay, hit me.
It was this one was deep in the archives, people. My pallet wood heart. So literally what I did is I just took a bunch of pieces of pallet wood, epoxied them all together. So it was just one massive block.
Yeah.
And then I just like power carved it.
But don't you get billions of views on the short form video of that?
That's true.
So at least there was some reward.
That's true.
For it.
It's like a 7-second clip of me just slapping a bunch of epoxy on boards and squeezing it together, and then it's like drip, 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 drip.
Yeah.
And the comment is always, "What are you making?"
Gotta click the next video to find out, my friend.
Yeah, but it's like, there's some bad ones. You got any other ones you can think of off the top of your head?
I mean, this kind of like sound diffusion panel that I have behind me here. That was,
but I think that's it's a cool project.
I think it's a cool project, but again, it's like amount of time invested into it, and then the number of people that watch the video. I think that you might not even be able to find. Same thing with the hammock thing. I think I might have unlisted both of those videos.
Yeah.
Just because they're like super underperforming.
I get that.
Yeah.
I was also thinking around the same vein, like. I had recently, I feel like both of us go through these ruts where you're like, oh man, I'm doing the same thing. I'm doing this and that. Like, I'm not super jazzed about anything I'm working on. What do you think pushes you to like really be motivated or fueled or like inspired to like say tomorrow you got to start something tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like what drives like your inspiration? Is it like curiosity? Is it like I've never done this before? Like
Yeah, if there's some element of I've never done this before, I think it definitely gives me a lot more motivation. Sometimes though, I will say like lately, if I think that I have a killer concept for something that's like when I did the iPod video,
yeah.
I was really excited about that because I was like, it's close to what I've been doing, but it's kind of this whole other area that I haven't explored before. And I was just the fact that it was like different enough from my normal stuff gave me a lot of motivation to keep going. And I mean, I guess it's kind of the same thing. It's, you know, it was a new area that I was exploring, so there's a lot to learn there.
Yeah, I could see that. And it's like it kind of changes up from like the monotony of doing necessarily the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
But like, I'm the same way. If I have this, like, I can do that. I think that interests me because I'll
That's
be
a fun
like
feeling.
laying in bed and be like, well, what if I put together? No, actually, if I oriented it like, no, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
That's so fun to me to have that. Like it's solving a puzzle.
Yes. Yeah. You think through all the things because it's like, you know, okay, if you're going to build cabinets, you've done that before. That's basically autopilot. Like you get your measurements, you bang it all together, you know, a couple pocket screws here, a couple nails and some glue over there.
Not super exciting.
Not super exciting. But if it's something new, you're like, well, how do I set up the shop for this? Okay. And how am I going to get in there to cut a rabbit that stops it? Like I remember when you were making your TV console.
Yeah.
We talked about like how you're going to stop out some like blind dados and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it was just fun to kind of figure things like that out, right?
I remember you had something similar where you're like, I need to cut like a really steep bevel. And I think it was your keyboard tray.
No, you know what it was? Oh, actually, yes, you're right. It was. There were two things. There was one where it was I wanted to do a router at like a routed channel at like a 45-degree angle.
Oh yeah.
And we talked through how to build a jig to do that, I think.
And we're like, oh, that's clever. But then like once you solve that, you're like, okay, I don't care, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like I feel like that is a huge motivational factor for me as a puzzle solving moment.
Yeah. I mean, to go from problem to solution is a very satisfying thing.
Yeah.
I try and incorporate as much of that in my videos. I think if you watch some of my videos, I kind of have a little bit of a formula where I'm like, here's the problem, and then over the next like minute or 2 minutes is me solving that problem, and then that created this new problem, and then here's me solving it. Oh, and then that created this problem, and you like kind of like just working your way through it because that is kind of how my projects go, right?
Yeah. It's kind of like a collection of shorter videos all in one almost.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think that's, I don't know, it was one of the guests we had on kind of talked about that. Maybe it was Drew Witt.
I think it was Drew.
Yeah, I think he kind of keyed me into that. And I was like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's just kind of like, because you think like as a viewer, you kind of need like little points of intrigue. Otherwise, like why is this project why didn't he just stop at that point? It's like, okay, well, there's this other thing that still needs to be solved. So, yeah.
But it's not necessarily like, it's not fictionalized. It's not created. It's like that's real though. Like any project, you're like, okay, I got past this hurdle. Well, damn it, I didn't think about this.
Yes. Yeah.
It's real.
There's always those moments. And okay, maybe in the editing process, one problem actually happened before another, or maybe one of those problems didn't catch me as much by surprise. Like maybe I saw a problem coming ahead of time, and then in the video I said I didn't see it coming or something like that. But they're all legitimate things that I had to overcome in order to get a project done.
Or I always feel bad when I'm in the video, I'm working on something in a very linear fashion or whatever. And then randomly in the background, you'll see a piece finished that I haven't even started creating yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like you'll have in the background your 3D printers running or something, or like a finished 3D printing part. You haven't even talked about that yet. And you're like, no, I got to 3D print it. It's like, that showed up in the first 30 seconds.
It happens so much. So I was working on this video. This is my next video that's going to come out. There was one part where I spent like 3 or 4 days 3D modeling and 3D printing different prototype parts.
Oh, God.
And I honestly just lost track of like what happened first. And I just kind of say in the video, like, I think this is how it happened, but I don't know. I can't be 100% sure. So if you see something that's like, doesn't make any sense, it's probably because I'm not telling the story in the right order.
Yeah. I had so many different prototypes and got so lost in the design process that I just like lost my train of thought.
Yes,
I think
exactly.
that people would like that. That's real.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I honestly, I just kind of locked myself in my office for 3 days and I was like trying to figure out how to make all these pieces fit together. And it's like, I don't know if piece A was finished before piece C or piece B. I don't know. Yeah.
So let me ask you this. We know the bread and butter is tech stuff on your channel, right?
Mm-hmm.
How much of what you're building or creating videos around is actually a need for you in your home?
I'm so far beyond need at this point.
Right. So it's like you create the stuff and it just sits in a closet or something.
Sometimes, yeah. Usually I'll get like a little bit of enjoyment out of it after the project is done. And then, kind of, unfortunately, right. I have like a bookcase where I kind of put my finished projects. It's kind of almost like a trophy case.
Trophy
almost.
room. Yeah. Well, it's funny because like I have trouble motivating myself to create something that I don't have a need for. Yeah. And I know I need to get beyond that.
Yeah. No, it is tricky. Like that's a legitimate thing. I mean, I think you kind of got to lean into the challenge aspect. Like pick projects not necessarily because you need them, but projects because you think you're curious to see how you would overcome all the challenges involved with building that thing, right?
And that would inherently then draw me in more.
Yeah. I think it's a better experience for the audience as well, right?
Yeah.
Not only are you more engaged, but I think the audience is going to sense that there's more natural story progression and all these things. Like, let's be real. At this point, you know how to make a dining room table.
Oh, yeah.
There's not a whole lot of like curiosity for you there. And you probably don't need a dining room table.
I don't need another dining room table. Yeah. But I also don't want to spend the money on all the lumber. But I also know like, okay, well, to create videos, you inherently have costs that are associated with them. So like that's part of our job, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm trying to think how much I spend on average on a video.
Oh, okay.
In terms of like materials.
Mine's, I would say, well over $1,000 typically.
Yeah, somewhere in like $1,000 to $1,500, something like that. And like, if a project cost me $1,000, I'm like, oh, that was a cheap one. That wasn't too bad.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Now, do you go into like super fine detail of like tallying all your expenses for each individual project?
No, I don't see any reason for it.
No, it doesn't affect me.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not like I need to do that for tax purposes or anything like that. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe if I were like super business spreadsheet geeky type of guy, maybe I could get some, I don't know, maybe be a little bit interesting, but no, not really. Yeah. The one thing I do is like, if I have a partnership and I'm like, oh, like I actually got like a good payment for this one. Yeah, like like a bigger than normal sponsorship. I'll be extra spendy, I guess, which doesn't really make any sense. Like I'm trying to think of a good example. Like
I'll spring for a couple pre-manufactured parts because it's going to make my job easier, but costs more. So you're basically trading your money for your time, or of some sort, right?
And if like say, heaven forbid, something breaks in the middle of the project, I'll be like, okay, whatever, screw it. I'll just pay for like the overnight shipping so I can get this part as soon as possible and get back into it. Like I had a bunch of things break on my 3D printer, and I was like, you know what, whatever. I'm just gonna. I'm sure I could maybe take it apart, resolder it, but I was like, I'll just throw some money at this issue, buy $100 worth of parts with the express shipping, and get the shit.
Or in one of I don't remember which video it was, but one of them. You had talked about the fact that you're like, yeah, whenever I do these projects, I just buy 2 consoles.
Yeah. I think that was in my last video.
Yeah.
Well, you know how many times I've been burnt where I get like 75% of the way through a project and I like my hand slips with a soldering iron. I'm like, oh, I turned this thing into a big paperweight.
And so are there a lot of things that one small move and she's toast?
Oh, yeah. Basically, anytime I have that soldering iron in my hand, it's you're in risky territory.
Yeah.
Some of the things, some issues you can fix, and the more skilled you are, the more likely you are to be able to fix them. But then sometimes it's just like I started tinkering with it, and then I plugged it in afterwards, and it didn't work, and I don't know why.
So, with all of that said, your next project. What is the next project?
What is my next project? I think I'm going to do something with the PlayStation 5. I have an idea for a PlayStation 5 project.
Okay. And what about that inspires you or motivates you or makes you excited to do it? Is there something that you're not sure you can pull off?
I think I can pull it off. There's not a lot of question marks in my head, but I'm going to explore. One, I think I have an interesting hook for the project. So that I'm kind of excited. I think like the intro to the video will be kind of like fun and engaging. So
the video is the intriguing part for it.
Sometimes, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think I have a good hook. I think I have a good thumbnail, blah, blah, blah. And then also I want to try 3D scanning. So I'm going to get a 3D scanner. And in the past, I've like, when I'm working on these computer projects, I take like calipers and measure every little thing. So this time I'm going to try, and instead of doing that, I'm just going to get one of these 3D scanners that you wave around the thing and then it generates a 3D model. So I'm very excited.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm very excited to tinker around with 3D scanning.
No, dude, I'm thrilled to hear about this. Like, please give me updates on it.
I will for sure.
So I've used 3D scanning stuff in college. So in the early 2010s, right?
Yeah.
So, but it was like where you'd have this little pen with like a little like BB at the end, and you'd go like boop, 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 like touch a million points.
Oh, okay.
And then it creates this sort of like geometric, like polygon figuring looking thing that you could then like do a bunch of testing and stuff like that.
Really? That's
now they're like LiDAR, where you basically just like scan it like a wand around an object, right?
So the one I'm thinking about getting is, I think it's 3 things in one. It's like a normal RGB camera. It's LiDAR, and then I think it also has infrared scanning as well. So you can like toggle between different modes, and I think some of them are more accurate in certain scenarios and others are more accurate in other ones. Or I think infrared's really quick, and then the LiDAR is more accurate, but it takes a longer time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what's the output of one of the things? Do you get like a 3D mesh that you then import into like Fusion?
Exactly. Yeah.
So then hypothetically, the project is, we're making this up, is a 3D printed dock that holds like the controller, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of bodies and shapes and whatnot around a controller that would be really hard to accurately model that.
Yeah.
So would the idea be that you could basically import like a 3D mesh of the controller into Fusion 360, and then from there somehow do like an offset body contour around that?
That would be one thing you could do for sure. Yeah, you could like, or what I'm thinking to do is to scan some of the internal circuitry of it. Yeah. And then I'll be able to take like a topographical view, draw a sketch over top of it, and then build out on top of it. But you're right, you can, and there's other operations you could do. Like, so you could scan a controller, then you could have, you could create a cube in in Fusion and then just take the controller scan, import it into that, and then subtract it from the cube. And then you would have like the perfect slot that the controller would fit into.
It's effectively like a negative.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I'm extremely pulled into this.
Yeah.
What scanner are you buying?
I'm looking at the Creality Raptor. There's a couple different versions. So
Pause. That's an incredible name.
I know, right? It's so sick. Okay, hold on. Creality has 2 scanners. One is called the Raptor.
Whoa!
The other one is called the Otter.
Wait. The Raptor or the Raptor X?
Well, the Raptor X is what, like $5,000?
$4,600.
So there's the Raptor, the Raptor Pro, and the Raptor X. So
what
I'm
about
thinking
a ferret.
Yeah, oh, there's also the ferret as well.
Where did they come up with these names?
I don't know. They should have stuck with just dinosaurs. I'm thinking I'll get the Raptor Pro, which is more like 2,000.
Raptor Pro. I don't see. Oh yeah, $2,000. Okay.
Yeah. So still a good chunk of change, but it's supposed to be pretty impressive. It's kind of like the best bang for your buck in terms of 3D scanners without going out and getting a commercial grade one.
Right.
It's like a prosumer.
Dude, this is sick.
I know, right? It's pretty cool.
Do you know how much faster this would make 3D modeling things?
Well, that's what I'm really curious. Because I've watched some videos and there is like an art to it. It's not like you don't just wave it around the thing once and it's like perfect.
Sure.
It basically like slowly builds the model over time, and elements of the thing you're scanning will turn different colors depending on how much data it's collected about it.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious. To see how long it takes.
But let's say you value your time at $100 an hour.
Well,
I don't think that's asinine.
No.
If this saves you 20 hours of work over the lifetime of having it, it pays for itself pretty quick. Like, let's be honest, $2,000 on a piece of gear, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, 100%. But, but like you're saying, it might speed it up. And then the other thing people sometimes don't take into consideration is like tools tend to hold their value pretty well. So I might use this thing for a couple of years. It might save me 20 hours over those years, and then I might sell it for $1,500 at the end of the run. Yeah. This one's cool. You can use it to scan really big things too. Like a lot of the promotional stuff is like scanning cars.
Yeah. See, it's the scanning in Tesla.
Yeah. So I was thinking, maybe I could like scan. I have a little project motorcycle. I was like, maybe I could scan the motorcycle and then 3D print motorcycle parts and stuff too. Not obviously, engine parts, but like mounts and, maybe something to hold like the battery to the frame or something like that.
But, I actually think this is something that I didn't even think about with our discussion earlier. Like getting a new tool or a new piece of tech or something, that alone can be extremely motivating and make you really want to.
New toy.
Really, exactly. It is a new toy.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Dude, I'm thrilled for you. I want a whole wrap up of how this thing works.
Okay, I'll let you know once I get my hands on and start playing around with it. I'm excited because it's one of those things I think that's going to save me time. I already know it's going to save me. Well, I don't know for sure, but I suspect it's going to save me time with my current workflow. And I think it's one of those things that once I have it, I'll find new use cases for it as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, think of like, especially if you're trying to get parts and pieces that fit with one another or compatible with one another.
Yeah.
You know how frustrating it is to be like, oh, it needs to be 1/10 of a millimeter bigger.
Have you ever run into this issue where you're like, so there are tools you can use to kind of measure things like the aforementioned calipers. To measure a cube with calipers is pretty easy. But then what about if you're trying to measure the radius of a corner?
Right. So like I was just thinking like my mount for my shotgun mic.
Yeah.
How are you going to measure this like flexible semicircle
right
thing with calipers? Like you're not doing anything.
It gets really hard really quick to start measuring complex objects. So
right.
I'm kind of imagining myself just going around my house like 3D scanning things, like, oh, I'll make a 3D printed mount for our electric toothbrush or something. Like I don't know. I'm just kind of spitballing on random things here, but
So, like, what's sorry, I'm really engaged in this 3D scanning.
yeah, right.
What's I don't know, like okay, my phone, right? My phone. How long would it take you to 3D scan my phone?
I think something like that. I don't have the tool in my hand, but based on everything I've seen, is like maybe a couple minutes to do, because you have to do one side of it, then you have to flip it over. So you put these little tracking markers. They come as little stickers.
Yeah.
And you put them on the thing. Well, that's one way you can do it. That's the most common way. So you put tracking markers. So you like put it on your table, you scan it, and then you flip it over and you make sure that it can still see some of the tracking markers from the last scan. Scan the other side of it, and then you combine the two meshes into a solid object.
So the idea with like your phone, maybe you put the tracking markers on the side of the phone, so that when it's scanning the front, it can see the side. When it's scanning the back, it can also see the side.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I've seen these guys that make they'll make like a Lazy Susan kind of like rotating table, and they'll just put tracking dots all over the Lazy Susan thing, and then they can just place objects on them and scan it really quickly. So
and then could you then put like the 3D scanner on like a tripod mount and then just basically just like son of a
spin her around, hit it really hard, and it goes woo, 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 and it scans it real quick.
Oh no! Like in all seriousness, would it scan it pretty quick if you spun the Lazy Susan? Obviously, it probably has a resolution or a frame rate that it has to capture.
Yeah, and I think it actually depends on how powerful your computer is. But I think, you wouldn't be able to just like bang it with your hand and have it spin around really quickly. But I think if you put your finger on it and slowly rotated it, you could do it pretty quick that way.
So you said it depends on how fast your computer is. This thing is wired into a computer, doesn't have like a standalone memory on the device?
No. So there's, you can get, how much is the attachment? There's a $300 attachment that you can get that wirelessly transmits the data to your computer if you want. Otherwise, you have to plug a USB cable into it while you're using it. So it's like connected to your computer.
So you use like a laptop or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
But again, it's actually one of those things that really pushes your computer. So if you can connect it to a more powerful computer, it'll actually scan faster. So a laptop might be a little slower than like a full desktop computer.
Sure. So what would that be computationally heavy on a CPU or a GPU?
I think it's GPU. I think you need to have a computer with a GPU in it, which most do these days.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. It's neat. I'm excited to kind of dive into it. And
did you better show this on your video?
Oh, 100%. Can you imagine if I was like,
and then I 3D scanned it?
Yeah. I made this really detailed model with my calipers by measuring each individual thing. Meanwhile, like off camera, I'm scanning it with a scanner.
That would be hilarious. And then it would, on Fusion 360, it would have like 45,000 different things.
Exactly.
You just on the bottom of your screen, just do new sketch, new sketch, new sketch, new sketch, and have nothing on the sketch and be like, I had 45,000 sketches in this model. There's some pretty wild stuff that you could do in Fusion that.
Oh, no, dude. I feel like I'm just barely scratching the surface of what Fusion can do.
I learned a new thing in Fusion today. I'm modeling a new piece of furniture that I'm going to build. Mm-hmm. And I was like, all right, I want to put 45-degree like a chamfer on the edge so that these pieces meet at a 45-degree miter, right?
Okay.
Well, you could make a sketch on the edge of a board and then like dimension out a 45-degree and then extrude it, right?
Yep.
You could also hit the chamfer tool and like basically boop, 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 bring the edge down.
Yep.
But that's awkward because you have to know exactly what the distance you're chamfering it to.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I got you.
So there's another function called draft.
Oh.
That basically what you do is you select two faces. Mm-hmm. So you'd select like an outer face and then like the edge face. And then you say 45 degree and it just goes boop. It just drops down 45 degrees.
I think I've used draft in the past to try and clean up. Like you can use it to kind of bridge the gap between, like if you had a right angle like this is horrible for people listening at home. I apologize, everybody just listening to this. If you had a right angle like this, you can use it to kind of fill in that gap too, right? It's not just a cutting. You can also use it to fill in.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
There's so many. I think I use about 3% of Fusion 360.
I'd be surprised if I was even that high. I think I'm like 1%.
It's so powerful. I'm so glad I got off of SketchUp. Did you ever start in SketchUp?
I did. Yes. SketchUp was, I think I used SketchUp like 3 or 4 times to create drafts of furniture. And I was like, this is so time consuming and so dumb that I'm just.
Yeah. You're like, oh, I actually need this to be a 1/4 inch bigger. And it's just like, forget it.
Yeah. And I was like, for the sake of making YouTube videos, I was like, I think I'm better off just like sketching in a notebook than I am trying to use SketchUp, right?
Right.
Yeah.
The only reason I used SketchUp was one, honestly, I would build furniture and stuff when I was at work,
right?
Like in the office.
Yeah.
I was using SketchUp. But then it was like, well, if I kind of need some 3D renderings for like plans.
It is very handy that way. And Fusion is great for that. If you watch, I think either of our videos, you see that there's a lot of just like screen capture of Fusion, right? Because it's you're like, you have a very like, it's very handy for creating like explanations of like, now we're going to talk about this part, and you just like highlight that part in Fusion.
Yeah, you just hit the little eyeball and you're like, all right, make this part of the project disappear.
Yeah.
It works great.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's really nice.
Although I hate when the bill comes for the. You still probably haven't upgraded, have you?
Oh, dude, did I not tell you? One of the people who works at Fusion reached out to me, and they're like,
hey, you can't be doing this.
No.
Because technically you're not allowed to do it.
I know. No, the opposite. They were like, hey, we're putting together a creator program where we want to like put creators together and like, kind of just like get your feedback on what your experience with Fusion is like. And then like, as part of that, we'll give you like an unlimited license to everything.
Fudge, man.
I can give you the contact information if you want.
Yeah, Bob, bring me in.
Yeah, because it is expensive for everybody at home. It's like $700 a year.
What do I pay a lot. It's several $100s. Fusion 360. Because I saw they're like, if you're profiting from it, you need this. And I'm like, I definitely am. And I'm selling stuff from it, and like $680.
Oh, yeah, it's pricey, but it's good. I mean, I think they're trying to. I don't think they would ever come after somebody like you, or like a creator. I think it's more people who work at like engineering firms and stuff like that. Like if you're selling the designs, you're making in Fusion for millions of dollars. But
yeah, sure. Yeah. Millions, or if you work for like NASA or something like that.
I mean, you are doing definitely the right and ethical thing.
Yeah. My biggest thing is when I first tried to get through it by using the free version, then you only get to save like 5 files at a time, and it pissed me off.
Right. Yeah.
I know that you can download the file or whatever.
But that's a nightmare.
Like, come on. I don't have time for that.
You're
buying your time.
I once heard a rumor that Adobe used to actually make it quite easy to steal their software, because they wanted kids in college to steal the software. They're like, look, we know these kids don't have any money, but we want them using our software. So they just made it pretty easy to pirate. And then people use it in school. And by the time they graduate into the workforce, they're like, well, I know Adobe. So it created all this demand in the private sector for people to work with Adobe. And then you have these big companies just paying for the licenses. Yeah.
I definitely pirated Adobe back in the day.
I had like the top end version of Photoshop when I was like 12 years old or something like that.
CS4 or whatever.
Yeah. It was probably like $1,000 program, and I was just tinkering away in my bedroom on it.
Isn't that wild to think that back in the day, like legitimately, they would sell Photoshop for like $1,500 in like the 90s.
I know, it's crazy.
That was more than the computer cost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who was buying it?
I don't know. I once heard, and this is back in the day, that it was cheaper. You could get it cheaper, and they would do different prices for different countries. So some people were like, it's actually cheaper to fly to like South America, buy a physical copy of Photoshop there, and then fly back home. Because it was, it was $100 in Mexico, and then it was $1,000 in the US.
What?
Yeah.
That's wild.
I mean, look, if you're a software company, it's all gravy, right? Like the thing doesn't really cost you anything.
Yeah, I mean,
well, the cost is in developing it, right?
You're right.
Each additional unit, like, what did they print a CD that back in the day? They print a CD, they print a manual, they put it in a box. Total cost of goods probably like $5 or something like that.
Probably.
So if you're, trying to sell it in a market that doesn't, especially back then, that was a developing country, didn't have a lot of money, you can't be charging $1,500, but you still want to make some sales, so sell it for $100. Yeah.
Let me ask you this: if software was cheaper, do you think you would go out and buy more software?
Yeah, definitely.
But do you also think that would inherently cause you to not put as much weight or effort into properly learning the software, because you would have 1,000 programs on your device as opposed to 10?
Yeah. I don't know. But there's only like so many programs you can actually use. I mean, these days I do basically pay for all. Like, back in the day, please don't come after me, Microsoft.
Statute of limitations is 7 years.
Yeah, exactly. Like in university, I definitely stole Microsoft Office and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, like come on. I'm in college and you're going to charge me $400 for Microsoft Office? Get out of here.
But if I could have got it for $15 or $20 or something,
I would have bought it all day.
Yeah, exactly. Because at a certain point, like, it was kind of a hassle to steal it, because you would go to use it one day and you'd be like, your CD key is invalid. And then they would lock you out until you could find a new one online or something like that. So, yeah.
But see, like, I really think if they had like I know they're like, oh, we have a student discount, $5 off. Like, stop it.
Yeah.
If you're like, hey, we have a student discount, it's $10 for a license.
Yeah.
Every single student would buy it.
Yeah, 100%.
And then, like you said, once they go in the private sector, they're like, I know how to use Microsoft Word. Microsoft Word is the standard, right?
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's so funny. Like, companies will gladly do it between countries, like we just discussed. But within a country, they're like, no, the price is the price, and we'll never. Yeah.
Drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Drives me nuts.
I used to say the same thing about music. Like, when iTunes came out, they made the price of a song 99 cents. And I was like, that's so dumb, because, like, you're basically the same price as a CD.
Right.
And I'm not, like, if I'm not willing to buy a CD, I'm not willing to buy the music on iTunes.
Right.
I'll just keep using Napster. But now there's streaming services. It's like, okay, I am actually willing to pay $9.99 a month or whatever it is in order to have access to all these songs. So there is a price point where I'm willing to pay for it, but it's not $1 a song.
I feel like the people that they need to target for a lot of these things is like college kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, if you make it so cheap that a college kid can afford it, basically anybody can.
Let me ask you this. Okay, rewind to mid 2000s. iTunes comes out and you get your iPod and whatnot.
Yeah.
What would you have had? And we're going to still say it's the per song model.
Okay.
What would they have had to charge per song for you to be like, yeah, that's cool, I'll do that?
I think if an album were like $2, $2.50, something like that, or each song was 10 to 15 cents,
I'd be down for that. Yeah, because grandma gets you a $20 gift card, and now you're getting what's that?
Yeah, like 10 albums or something like that.
10 albums, or like 500 songs or something like that.
Yeah, and by the way, that's more than the artist would ever get from you streaming on some streaming platform, right? Like, you could listen to a song 1,000 times, and I don't know if an artist would make $2.50.
I really want to talk to one of my buddies. I haven't talked to him in a couple of years, but he's in the. I don't know if you've heard of the band Camp.
No, I don't think so.
It's kind of like a folk rock.
Yeah.
I mean, they like travel the world and stuff like that. I'd be
Okay.
very interested to be like, all right, dude, how much money do you make per stream? It's probably like 1,000th of a penny.
I think, yeah, I don't, because there's no opportunity to, it's got to be like similar to like shorts and stuff like that, right?
Right.
Because yeah, because people are only listening for like 3 minutes. You can't play an ad after every single song. So I'm just trying to like work out what the, do you look it up? Are you looking it up right now?
I looked it up. According to Google AI,
Mm-hmm.
Spotify artists earn an average of 0.003.
Okay.
So 0.003 to $0.005, which is about half of a penny per stream.
Okay.
That seems really high.
Yeah. Well, okay, hold on. I just looked up CPM for music streaming.
Yeah.
Oh, this is talk about YouTube or I don't know. We might have to look this up off. He's giving me YouTube CPMs.
Because that's like a $3 CPM.
Yeah, which does seem high because that's higher than what you get with a short. But that's like half of what some YouTube niches get.
Yeah.
I wonder. Huh. Yeah, sorry, I'm just scrolling through websites trying to find an answer to this question. Yeah, it does seem high because there's not really many ads that could play.
So, but then it also says that Spotify works on a 70-30 split on average, meaning that Spotify gets 30, artists get 70. So do you only get 70% of that $3 CPM?
That's a good question. There's like CPM and RPM and stuff like that, right? Yeah, I don't know.
Yes, we need to have some people on.
Yeah. A friend of mine works, he's a lawyer, but he works for like a mutual fund, or I think it's a mutual fund. Basically, they buy up music rights. So like buying artists. So say whatever, the way he explained it to me is that if a artist gets in financial trouble, they will sell the streaming rights to their songs. So they'll say, look, I'm making $1,000 every month from my catalog of music. They will then sell it for, $100,000. And maybe, I don't know if that would probably be closer to 10,000 or something like that.
Yeah. So it'd be like a 1 to 2 year break even or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, sure. Exactly. So, and then they take that cash flow and then repackage it and sell it to investors. So that you can have, like, how there's stocks that pay dividends.
Yeah.
You could essentially own you could own a portion of some catalog of music streaming and you sell off the cash flow from that.
Didn't some really big artists, this is probably not the right one, but like the Beatles or something like that, not just, but in the last like 5 or 10 years, like sell off their music streaming rights to something?
Yeah. I think it happens more than you might think. Okay. And a lot of artists, as soon as it's kind of like you kind of sell your catalog and then go into retirement. If somebody's willing to cut you a check for $10 million for your music streaming, it's like, all right, whatever.
Take that now. And
that, and I know I can live on that for the next however many years I'm alive.
But then part of it makes you want to think, well, but would you have been better off just trying to cash in on the streams, or do you run into the possibility of over the years fewer and fewer and fewer people are then listening to it?
Yeah, I mean, it's all. I'm sure there's a ton of math that goes into finding the perfect price where both parties are happy. But yeah, and I think a lot of the time, like my friend was saying, it's sometimes it happens to these artists where they get a bunch of money and then they spend a little bit more than they got, buying fancy cars, mansions, and stuff like that. And like, oh, I have a big tax bill. And the only way I can pay this tax bill is to sell off some of my streaming rights.
I'd be curious how many people in our space, not just like the maker space, but in like the YouTube space, content creators and stuff have gone down that path. Do you think? I bet it's a pretty decent percentage.
Well, I was asking him, I was like, have you ever considered doing something similar for YouTubers? But I don't know that there's that long tail. Like, okay, so certain songs like the Beatles,
Sure.
they're probably it's probably pretty consistent. Like, they're not putting out new music, but there's X number of people every year that regularly tune in and listen to Beatles songs.
Sure. The classics.
The classics. I don't know that exists. In 20 years, are people still going to be watching our YouTube videos the way they're listening to the Beatles?
I would assume no.
Yeah, that would be my assumption.
Because there are probably going to be other folks that are in the maker space or the entire platform is monumentally shifted, right?
Yeah. Although I would find it really funny if in like 20 years there's some young hipster that's like, actually, I like the old Zach Build stuff better.
Yeah.
The stuff from the early 2020s was way better than his current stuff.
When you made hammock frames, those were the heydays. And when you did an entire video about how to put security cameras up around your apartment, I was
I was curious if that applied, and I wonder if there could legitimately be some creators out there who sell off that stream of revenue. Because I know guys who have, creators who have taken time off and like, I still know that I can consistently make X amount of dollars every month, even if I'm not still posting.
Right.
So
it's not a lot.
No, but it's, if you apply that multiple to it, that payoff multiple, it might still be, a couple $100,000 or something like that. I don't know.
Sure. It's interesting. Yeah. Well, oh my God.
I know.
We're 8:15.
We're over time.
We're well over time. We've got to head over to our Patreon BYOC call to hang out with our top tier patrons.
The dogs.
We do it every single month.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're listening to this now and it's not the live stream, it's too late. You're gonna have to wait till next month. But head over to patreon.com/softcut podcast. Sign up for any tier. Unlock the after show and everything and all the other perks. And then the top tier is going to do the BYOC call every month. So I think without further ado, we're going to head over there.
See you, everybody.
See ya. I'm going to give a huge shout out to our returning top tier patrons. Corey Duvall at Woodcrafts and Honey. Josh at Sawdust Builds. Joe Welsh at Delaware Valley Workshop. Goblin Spanker.
You can't say that anymore.
Building Creative.
Bingo bango, you're done.
Zach, to be honest with you, I don't even know if I follow you.
You should stop.